Hello and happy Thursday. Let's talk sales. So, today's sales talk is going to be about communication, effective communication, and how we can improve. I'm also going to cite an example of how to communicate very expressively to our prospect or clients in terms of, say, let's a walk through a dealership, that kind of thing. But first, before we go there, knowing the best methods for our learning style is going to be extremely important for how we grow and improve our communication and our style. So when I was younger, when I was growing up, I was a good student. I was always a 3.5 to 4.0 grade point average, throughout school. And I would come home every day. I would do my homework, and I would sit at the table for a couple of hours, and I was always doing the things that I should and turning in my assignments timely. I was a good student. So one of the ways that I would learn, and I taught myself how to learn, is I had three components to learning, and that was, I had to see it. The teacher gave the instruction. I had my notepad next to me. I was taking my cliff notes. I was writing those down, and then I would speak it. So the way that I would do that is I was taking my cliff notes, and whether the instructor would provide the material, whether it was from the textbook or a workbook or that kind of thing, I would have that to support my writing. So I would hear the teacher speak it, I would handwrite it down, I would be followed up with a written form, and then I would speak it. And I would usually use flashcards or that sort of modality in order to be able to nearly memorize all of the content. But I retained a lot of that information by doing those three things, as I was able to retain a lot of information in that and when it was done in that order. So when we're recognizing our speech, our flow, our content, all of those things come more important as we are entering our professional lives. And the way that we communicate that is recognizing how we can improve. So, for example, I would often use fillers in order to be able to continue a conversation and move on, meaning a lot of people use fillers, whether it's just a stop in the communication till it registers in the brain that I need to keep going, or I used to use a lot. Like you hear people using or oftentimes people today use the word like this, like that, like, what in that sort of dialogue. So in order to replace those words with other more intelligent conversation words, I used a rubber band that I put around my wrist, and you can snap, you can clap, you can do whatever measure that is going to trigger your brain that something needs to change. And for me, it was a rubber band. I don't know if I heard it from somebody else, how I obtained that a rubber band was a good idea, but I would literally pull the rubber band back, and I would snap my wrist every time I said the word. So it was in very short order that I was able to find either replacement words, or I was able to continue on the conversation without the inclusion of that filler word. Um, and this can be, with anything that you want to change. Like, you don't have to use it for just your words. Procrastination is by far the biggest time waster that we all share. And recognizing when procrastination exists is a great opportunity to use that modality, snapping the rubber band, clapping your hands, or snapping your fingers, in terms of making a change in that dialogue. So when you realize that you're procrastinating, recognize it, and then have a response mechanism in place, so that the next time it shows up, the automatic transition is going to be more immediate, rather than what we typically will find as procrastination or time wasters, fillers, if you will. So you can do that with procrastination, recognizing using swear words in our communication. A lot of people like to do that in all industries, but when they're communicating with people, they like to swear a lot, using f-bombs and that kind of thing. And especially seems like, my kids they do that a lot often. It's like a common practice for their dialogue, and I often have to correct them. I don't use that around me. Don't use that language around me. You can find more productive words, as the English language is so vast that you can fill that space with something quite a bit more intelligent than a swear word. You never know who's listening. You never know who's around you within earshot. So it's always a good practice to stay involved in a productive dialogue, rather than using words that may offend somebody else. So that's always a great recognition in terms of being able to improve the quality of your language. Recognizing when you should have used a certain word choice, or maybe in sales it was an objection that you should have used in a certain situation, but you hastily, got off the phone with them, and then as soon as you hung up the phone, you said, I should have said this, or snap, I should have said this. So it recognizes the situation, it puts in place a more productive response, and then maybe you got a different result. Or you could just do that immediately, and then what I would recommend that you do is call that person right back and say, hey, you know what, I apologize, I got off the phone a little bit too early with you. What did you think? What do you think about this as a resolution, to your response? How does that work for you? So whatever the case may be, whether if you're including an objection or a certain word choice that could have been said differently, or the way that you said it, was intended a different way than it actually was perceived. So all of those communication recognitions are very, very important. And you can use that mechanism, that response, that direct response mechanism, to help change your language and change your situation, improving your language and improving the quality of that situation, allowing the conversation to have a different result and hopefully a better result. So those are a couple of examples there. Recognizing when you should have completed a task. Say your idea is to come into work, and within 5 minutes you want to make that first call. That generates momentum. That is a jumpstart to the day. So you can use that mechanism, that direct response mechanism, when it's gone beyond the 5 minutes. And as soon as you recognize it, snap, and then make that call. Make that call whether it's 6, 7, 8 minutes later. But don't waste the time. But recognizing the recognition is the key. So then the following day when it shows up, 5 minutes after you're into the door, you're going to be triggered. Your mind is going to say, I need to do something. I need to do this now, and it has to be right now. So you can use that in order to encourage a jumpstart to your day. If you are leaving for the day, and there's always one more. You can always make that one more call. If you've got 10 minutes before the end of the day and you're thinking about going to get your coat out of the locker, or you want to stop into the coffee area or the office area, and fill your cup of coffee before you go, you can make one more call instead of doing something that's not as productive. You're choosing a role in sales, and sales is a commitment, and it's a commitment from a start to a finish and beyond. There's always room for one more, you know. So recognizing that exists and being able to have a direct response mechanism in place will help you improve those activities. So it'll also make you more productive overall. Uh, the style of our communication is dependent on our prospects, guests, clients' style of communication. If you're working with a client who is speaking in a language that is, maybe offensive to others that are around you, you'll listen to them, but you don't need to engage in that same activity. You can use better quality language that will allow for flow, but you're not reciprocating the same language that they're using. So that's a choice. But it also, depends on, when you have personalities that you're working with, and like we said already, that everyone is different. Every sales transaction is unique to the next. So when you have these personalities, it might be appropriate to use that kind of language when you're working with somebody who is hardcore, and you may be able to create a bond with that person. So you can have flexibility here, but you want to make sure that it's better off overall to err to the side of caution rather than just exploit negativity. In my case, swear words or f-bombs and that kind of thing, where that communication does show up. But understanding your environment and who could be within an earshot of you is extremely important. You may be the most intelligent person in the room with a clear understanding of your product or service. The reason your client is coming to you is because they are looking to you to educate them. If they cannot understand the dialogue because it's too sophisticated, how will they perceive your product? If you're working with, a relatively sophisticated product, like say a photocopy or computer equipment or new technology, people are going to be looking to you to help simplify that that the usage of that technical aspect of whatever you're trying to sell. So you need to keep it simple, and it's an acronym that I use, KISS. Keep it simple, salesperson. Um, if your dialogue is sophisticated, how are they going to receive that information? How are they going to perceive your product or service that you're trying to portray to them? It's going to be like a deer in headlights. Quite honestly, they're going to be looking at you with a stare, and you're not going to really appreciate where they're coming from, because you've spent all this time educating yourself and using the language and trying to communicate and elevate your communication and that kind of thing. But it's so important to recognize who you're working with, because not everybody is going to be as sophisticated. It's important for you to understand, know, and believe in your product or service. And having that elevated language is very important in many applications. However, sometimes we have to recognize who we're working with, and it might be a less sophisticated person that needs greater clarity. So um, it's important to be confident in your delivery and the word choice. Uh, you can describe, when we'll go into a dealership, and there's three components to creating validity with yourself in a sales transaction. So the first three things that we need to do is we sell ourselves, we sell the dealership that we're working for, and then we sell the product. And it has to be in that order. So if you're new to sales, then you can say that, there's six salespeople on the floor, and of all six of us, we have over 65 years of experience combined. If you're new to sales and you're just starting out, if you've been in sales for a year or more, and there's a reason why it's important that it's a year or more, is because at that point your guests, prospects, or clients are going to rely on you to be able to deliver accurate information, because they're going to hold you accountable for what you say and what you promise. So it's extremely important that you sell yourself, in that if you're new, claim it. Tell them, I'm new. I just started here a couple of months ago. I'm doing the very best I can, and I promise I'm going to do the best I can for you. But overall, I have access to all of this information amongst six other salespeople. We have over 65 years of sales experience combined. I can absolutely make sure that I'm giving you the accurate information that you're looking for. So, and then sell the dealership. This dealership it's family owned, or whatever the case may be. It's family owned. We've been here since 1984. We're an established business, and we have a lot of clients that we've been able to help in the past. So then we walk through and we talk about the dealership, right? Sell yourself, sell the dealership, sell your product. So then, we've got a full showroom display that has all brand new products that are displayed out here, and everything is brand new. It comes with a manufacturer's warranty. And you can see that we have 5 lines of product to serve. And we offer the 5 major top lines of vehicles for you to consider. Let's move on to the parts and accessories department. We have a full parts and accessories department, and the parts manager, his name is Tom. Tom is always going to be available for any questions that you have. And if you just go to the counter and you're looking for something specific, you have any questions, they've got 25 years of sale of parts and parts knowledge that they can share with you. So they're going to also make sure that they're going to take enough time in order to be able to get the product that you're looking for, so that it's the exact fit for your vehicle every single time. And then now let's move back to the service department. The service department, they've been with us since day one. We've got 3 master mechanics, and our service manager. Her name is Julie. Julie's going to be responsible to help schedule your service appointment, and then have you bring it in timely. And then not only that, she's going to go above and beyond and do an additional inspection check on your vehicle, so that you know that by the time they're done with it, that you're going to receive your product back, your vehicle back, in the best condition possible. We have a car wash right next door. We're even gonna send it through the car wash when you spend $50 or more with us. So how does that sound to you? And then you'll wait for the reply, because now you've sold yourself, you've sold the dealership. And now let's move on to the specific product. Now it's going to be about the product, and solely about the product. So when you're prospecting with the customer and you're considering whatever products that you're trying to sell to them, it's this the needs analysis is going to show up. We'll go over that more in depth in a different video. um, when we're talking about, say, for example, office equipment, and when I had the opportunity to work in office equipment, I worked for a company called Icon Office Solutions, and they were one of the major players in the office equipment space. So when it comes to the utilization, we talked a little bit more about technology. I touched on that a little bit earlier. And, there's a sophistication aspect that is required when it comes to technology. So having your guests, prospect, or clients have a perceived value for what that looks like is going to be extremely important. So you have to believe in your product or service 100%. No matter what you're selling, you cannot be lukewarm about it. Your product or service will absolutely improve the quality of their life and the end user's life. And you need to make sure that you portray that accurately.